Last week, we covered what I consider to be the best designs in every single Mortal Kombat game. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to click the card above and watch it before going to this one. Now, we're gonna do the opposite this time around, and we're gonna be looking at the worst design in every Mortal Kombat game. So, let's get to it.
Fight!
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Nick here, and welcome to, or welcome back to the channel. Once again, I'm going to be going through every single one of the mainline Mortal Kombat titles, and I'm going to be choosing the worst design from each of the games. Now, I know these are just my opinions, they're not the definitive fact, so please don't throw angry comments at me. I'm just going to explain my perspective on why these just missed the mark for me, and how I wish they could have been improved moving forward. Oh, and if you like these costumes, that's great. I'm not gonna bash your opinions for liking these, and we don't have to agree eye to eye, just let's not be mean about that, okay? Alright, and with that, let's get to our first title. Starting things off with Mortal Kombat Classic, the game that spearheaded the entire franchise and provided some very iconic character designs. Now, none of these designs are bad at all. They all stand out in their own way, so picking the worst one was extremely challenging, but unfortunately, and at the end of the day, I decided the worst costume in this game goes to Liu Kang. Alright, hold up, pitchforks and torches down. Please let me explain. Do I think this is a bad design? No, not one bit. Do I think it has its own charm? Yes, I love how it's a clear tribute to Bruce Lee. However, I feel that's the one thing that makes this design just very special. If you were to remove the fact that this is a tribute to one of the greatest martial artists of all time, then you're just left with a guy wearing kung fu pants and white shoes. It's a very simple design in comparison to the rest of the roster with very colorful costumes. I just think it doesn't stand out the best, if you ask me. Now, even though I think it ranks really low, I still think it's a pretty solid design. I just think it's going up against more designs that stood the test of time. By technicality, this is the worst design in Mortal Kombat Classic. Let's switch arcade cabinets and look at the direct sequel, Mortal Kombat 2. As I said in the previous video, I think this game had improved in the design aspect quite heavily. All of these designs look so much better than before, and it's cool that so many of these characters had these designs come back as DLC in the NRS era, or it was their go-to design for the cameo characters. Unfortunately, there's only one of these costumes that had never reappeared in any of the NRS games, and it's unfortunately our worst design. That goes to Shang Tsung. Yeah, just like Liu Kang in classic Mortal Kombat, I don't think this is a bad design, but I just don't think it wows me like the rest of the cast do. The team had seemingly ditched the Lo Pan inspired design and went for a more traditional getup, and for me, I think the charm was lost there. If only they had touched up the design from the first game, then it wouldn't be here. Again, I think all the designs in this game are solid, but I think this is the weakest one. Guess you can say it's lacking the soul from before. Moving on and looking at Mortal Kombat 3, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and Mortal Kombat Trilogy. You'd be surprised to know that the worst design in this game actually goes to my favorite character in the franchise, that being Sub-Zero. Now, yes, I do get why they changed his design in this game, as the lore explains. He's marked for death from the Lin Kuei, and the Cyber Ninjas are after him. So as a result, his design now resembles Henry Rollins? Coming from a lore perspective, I understand the change, but in terms of visuals, it really doesn't hit the spot that MK or MK2 had done with the Cryomancer. We're finally jumping into the era that had introduced alternate costumes and ditched digitized graphics for 3D models, that being Mortal Kombat 4 and Mortal Kombat Gold. Kudos to the team for trying to do something different and create some designs that were not possible in the digitized era, but man, did you guys take some risks. I mean, like, what the hell is this thing? Yep, we're looking at Reptile's base design. Back when I did all costumes ranked for Reptile, I had some choice words for this weird take of the character. For instance, they started to make him more scaly, but they did it poorly. He's now rocking purple instead of his usual green, and his mask just looks extremely off. There is a frame for the typical metal ninja mask, but the cheek and mouth are exposed, giving it a very interesting look. And that's honestly the best word I can use to describe this costume. Interesting. That doesn't mean that it's good. Thankfully, the team learned from their mistakes and managed to do the human with scaly skin approach much better in Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Personally, if you ask me, that's the best way that they've managed to do it. The next title we are looking at is Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, the first PS2 era game that came out and the first one that I played. And this is actually a costume that I had just talked about recently, and keen-eyed viewers of All Costumes Ranked know that it's Jax's alternate design. This was another costume that ranked at the very bottom of All Costumes Ranked featuring Jax, with both Kenny Bomb and I having some criticisms with it. This really doesn't feel like Jax at all. Instead, he's about ready to fight for New York while listening to some Def Jams, or looking more like TJ Combo but with a gun. You know, actually, never mind, he's just TJ Combo. Secondly, how did he get his arms back? And lastly, as Kenny said in our video together, this really feels like they just walked in on a rapper's recording session and decided to make this the Jax design. Overall, weird design choice with this one. Also, feel free to check out all Jax Briggs costumes ranked here. We are now looking at what Dibs, YouTube friend of mine, considers to be a god tier status game, Deception. If you had watched my favorite and least favorite aspect of every MK game video, you know that my least favorite aspect of Deception is the hit or miss costumes, and yep, the worst costume in this game goes to Sub-Zero's alternate design. To quote The Godfather, look at how they massacred my boy. Now I will admit some of this design here does look alright. I think some of the armor that he wears around his torso and legs are a nice change of pace from his base design. But the big thing that really ruins this entire costume for me is the head. Like, what was the goal? Was someone on the art team aiming to make a Cryomancer Prince Zuko? It's no wonder why people rip on this costume so much. It earned the bottom spot in all costumes ranked for Sub-Zero, and Maximilian Dude gave it a 1 on Rate the Costumes. And funny enough, there's only one person on the planet that actually likes this design, and that's good friend of mine and proud alternate Sub-Zero design defender, AMA Combo. I don't know what you see in this design, but damn it, you keep defending this one. But as a Sub-Zero fan, this one is just terrible. We're taking a look at the retelling of Mortal Kombat 2, Shaolin Monks. Like I said in the last video, a lot of these designs are amazing, and I honestly don't think any of them are bad, as they're just updated revisions of the MK2 designs. I don't think any of these designs are bad, and when they have updated them, they look great. Unfortunately, there has to be one that's the worst by technicality, and once again, it goes to Shang Tsung. Yeah, I really don't want to repeat myself too much in the MK2 segment, but yes, it still goes to Shang Tsung. It's the exact same costume, but just in a 3D render instead. However, I really wish this was an opportunity to completely redesign the character here. Like, I love what they did with them in the opening CG animation with the redesigned MK Classic look. Why couldn't they do that here? It's such a missed opportunity. Yet again, I really don't want to repeat myself too much, just wish they did something different with him here. Looking at the final PS2 era Mortal Kombat and the last Mortal Kombat game for a while, Armageddon. And as I mentioned last time, there are 64 characters in this game, and to make it easier, I'm only looking at people who had only reappeared in Armageddon, not characters who had appeared in Deception or Deadly Alliance. So that narrows down our picks quite a ton. So after combing through the entire roster, it was really hard to pick one design that I thought was really bad or the worst. At the end of the day, I decided to go with our main protagonist of Conquest, Taven's primary costume. Yep, surprise, surprise, out of 64 characters, Taven's primary takes the cake. Honestly, I look at this design and I'm kinda underwhelmed with it. Like, the design vibe is supposed to give off that he's a demigod, but for whatever reason, he kinda looks like a generic dude. Like, no joke, anyone in the entire roster could wear this design and it would feel totally normal. I do understand he gets armor in the story, so this is supposed to be him when he wakes up, but just looking looking at it design-wise, it's kinda weak. I honestly would have preferred his alternate to be his primary instead, but then his real alternate design could be him more heavily armored and give him like a cool helmet or something like that. Overall, this one had a lot of potential, but it just kinda came off as the most basic, if you ask me. And like what I did with the last video, I am going to be giving a runner-up for the worst designs as well too. And this dishonor goes to Motaro's primary and secondary costumes. Primarily it's because they got rid of his back legs, and I know it's the reason they couldn't is because of the whole mocapping issue, and it would be very hard to program or balance that in. That's part of his identity, and I've always felt that that was just really weird, but that's really the only reason it's not the worst, is because they were really limited to it. Taven just looks bland as hell, that's all. Looking at the only Mortal Kombat crossover, MK vs DC Universe. All of the designs are really good, so picking a worst was pretty challenging, but after looking through the entire roster once again, just one of them didn't really hit the mark for me, and that goes to Jax. Yeah, it was extremely hard to choose the worst design, as I find all of these to be really good. As I had mentioned in all Jax costumes ranked, I think this one just didn't hit the mark for me as much as I wanted it to. I really don't know what it is. I think it's just weird seeing him rock a vest for the first time, along with his mega cyber arms that he has. It just kind of makes him come off a little bit over-designed, if you ask me, with a lot of silver in this one. I feel like if they dialed it back a bit, maybe made him just have a regular black t-shirt or something like that, or even change the color of his vest to maybe something like purple to resemble the arcade era, then I think I would have placed this one higher. Again, this costume is not bad at all, it just doesn't hit the nail for me. Time to look at the franchise-saving reboot with Mortal Kombat 9. I think a lot of the designs in this are pretty good, and unfortunately, I think a lot of them are a little over-designed if you ask me. I think once again, this is another one of those titles. It was really hard to pinpoint the worst costume, because even the ones that I don't really like that much, I think they just kind of missed the target of what they're trying to do. The worst design, after going through all of them again, surprisingly goes to Quan Chi's alternate design. This honestly feels like it could have been much better. Like many of the other alternates, do something drastically different. Either do like a major timeline jump to resemble Armageddon, or they do something to resemble that of like another era MK game. Quan Chi's design is just the exact same thing, but they put a shirt on him. Like, why not remake the MK4 one, you know, his debut? It felt like that would have been the obvious choice, or at least revise it in some way. They just took this basic design from MK9, threw a shirt on it, and called it a day. It's not really bad at all, it's more just a missed opportunity. Kinda wish they did something different. Jumping into the title that just turned 10 years old, Mortal Kombat X. As much as I love the gameplay and the variation system, the designs really take a back seat for me. I really think a lot of them just lack color, or some of them are trying to be too dark and broody. But if there is one design that takes the cake for being the worst, not only just in this game but in the entire series, it's Scorpion's infrared costume. Hey, you know the phrase, wow, that's a sight for sore eyes? Yeah, infrared Scorpion is literally a sight for sore eyes, as it can give you eye strain. Yes, this is part of the Predator Prey skin pack in MKX, being a fun tongue-in-cheek reference to the heat vision scenes in The Predator. But why did they make this a costume? It looks so bad and it hurts to look at. This costume was so bad that this is actually banned in a lot of competitive tournaments that host MKX. For that alone, that deserves to be the worst costume in all of Mortal Kombat X. A skin that's so painful to look at, it actually hurts your eyes. Moving on to the era of customization with Mortal Kombat 11, and what's gonna make this one interesting is I'm gonna be looking at an entire set of skins instead of just one specific shader or some pieces of gear. So gear is not gonna be factored in here at all, and I'm not gonna be looking at any of these seasonal costumes or anything like that. I'm only going to be looking at an entire set of skins that share shaders. So this time around, after looking through all of the shaders, all of the costumes, everything like that, the worst design in Mortal Kombat 11 goes to Frost's Temporal Grand Mistress variants. I really don't know what they were doing with this costume here. Don't get me wrong, I like the concept of Cyber Frost in MK11, but I think this is steering way too far into that direction. If you ask me, this feels more like an original character, but if I were to tell you that this was MK Deadly Alliance's Frost, you'd probably be floored. There's almost no resemblance of a ninja anymore, and I really don't know what they were aiming for when it came to the design of the head. I think that crown with the spiking bits on the top of her head just looks really off. Instead, I wish they just opted for either like a hood, or speaking of hood, maybe the design that we got in her reveal in the story mode. One of the costumes that's not even obtainable in this game. Why didn't they do that? This just looks really off and it looks really stupid. This upgraded character is more like a downgrade. Wrapping it up by looking at the definitive edition of Mortal Kombat 1, and similar to Mortal Kombat 11, I'm not going to be looking at any of these seasonal variants, so Season of the Huntress, you really got lucky with this one. But after just looking at the costumes that the games had provided with the New Era, Order of Darkness, and the Union of Light, God, there are so many variants and some look really rough. But at the end of the day, I think the worst one goes to General Shao's Union of Light variants. Let's be real here, it was really hard to pick one design as the worst in Mortal Kombat 1, but after I decided to lift these seasonal costumes, I knew I had my obvious choice, that being General Shao Union of Light. Yeah, so what's the most intimidating part about Shao Kahn or General Shao? His foreboding presence, his giant frame, and that helmet of his. And whenever it's removed, it really isn't flattering and it just makes him look super weird. Yeah, so this design just makes his face front and center, and it's very weird. Now, you could make the argument that the Order of Darkness design does the exact same thing, but the thing is, the hood and the armor still make him look disturbing. You try to cross him and you know that you're doomed. That's what that gives. This design, I literally laughed the first time I saw it because I thought it was awful. I felt like this would have been a wonderful opportunity to give him different sets of armor for his head, but removing it was probably the biggest mistake. On top of that, they really toned down his armor, but I will admit I do like the shoulder piece he has on. Overall, the worst design in Mortal Kombat 1 is General Shao's. It's official, it sucks. So there you have my least favorite designs from every single Mortal Kombat game. Which one of these do you agree with, and which one of these do you disagree with? Let's have a fun discussion in the comment section down below, and please, let's not be mean about our picks, because these are just my opinions, and I'd love to know what yours are. I greatly appreciate all of your continuous support. It truly means a ton. And sorry I've had a weird upload schedule lately. I've really just been wanting to get back into content creation now that a lot of my free time has opened up quite a ton, and I'm not super busy with work all the time now, so that's why I'm trying to get all these fun, like, best designs, worst designs, and I've been writing out a bunch of all costumes ranked for characters, and I'm finally getting back into all finishers ranked once again, starting to go by each title, so stay tuned for those updates coming to the channel. Also, a big update I want to share with you all. I'm going to a bunch of cons this summer, so stay tuned as I'll be sharing some updates on my community tab, on my social media platforms. I'd hopefully love to run into some of you guys if you're in the Michigan area or live in the Midwest. That'd be wonderful, so stay tuned for those updates coming soon. And as always, thank you so much for your continuous support. My name is Nick, and have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya, and have a good one.
Fight!